In our last lecture of supply chain analytics, we discussed about the basics of supply chain analytics, how supply chain analytics you can say have an influence on supply chain management, what sort of interaction it is between them. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the basics of, if I could say, supply chain management, which deals with the supply chain analytics, how it has been influenced in that one. Prerequisite for that one, as a in the if you are registered in the course of supply chain analytics, that we have already done the operations management, logistics and supply chain management concepts, sourcing and material management concepts, and mathematical and statistical modeling. The objective of this course just to understand the basic concepts of operations management, logistics and supply chain, research, operation research and mathematical modeling, and application of supply chain concepts into analytical framework, as well as material management concepts into. Next, if I could talk about, after you can say discussing the different sorts of supply chain distributed, you can say then you can see the serial supply chain and all these things. Now we need to understand the supply chain management concept, bifurcation of supply chain management concept, or in different terms, if we could understand what is all about supply chain. So if I could say, it starts with the procurement. So you are arranging the material, you are procuring the material from the supplier. So that is one important aspect which has been there. So it is the cycle of you would say cyclic movement or from the different perspective of the different components. Likewise, or different you can say stakeholders here, or different. So here, if I could say, the procurement is one of the things. Product life cycle. Whichever product you are considering in a supply chain, so that's that particular product's life cycle management. So need to do that one. Logistics. So logistics here, you can say sourcing in from the supplier to the, you can say, up to the organization, the manufacturer. So that particular part you have to deal with in logistics, in-house logistics. Another aspect, supply chain strategy. What kind of a strategy where you are going to take place, how you are dealing with these are these strategically, you can say, just to over outmaneuver your rival, or outsmart your rivals, or you can say just to how to you can say minimize your cost. So you have to follow the different sort of strategy over there. Then supply chain planning. The supply chain planning, as it is a managerial planning concept, any particular planning, any operations planning, production planning. So similarly, there is a concept of supply chain planning, where you are discussing about from the long-term, mid-term, and short-term planning. And short-term planning deals with the day-to-day planning. Mid-term planning, you can say, it is the planning which talks about the what sort of product which comes in over there, and then long-term planning, or what sort of portfolio it will be there. And the long-term planning, where how you are going to start with, where you have your warehouses or all these things. So how to make a particular architecture of the supply chain, how to integrate the supply chain. That is the concept which you have to deal with in supply chain planning. Supply chain, then supply chain enterprise applications. Applications where organization-wise application. So here, one-to-one organization, what sort of applications are there in terms of one particular organization or any other organization. And then you can say the last one is the asset management, how you are managing your assets, resources, all these things that you have to deal with over here. Next one is you can say Another you can say transaction, another movement or evolution towards there, that is the digital supply chain and digital supply chain network. So in the digital supply chain network, there are different, you could say, the different stages or different stakeholders. Likewise, here there is a customer, the supplier, the manufacturer, the retailer, logistics provider, and distributor. So these are the different components or different stakeholders are there, and these different stakeholders are, you can say, integrating the things or transcending the things or moving towards. So in that way, you could identify customer is there, information supply chain is there, and then supplier. So supplier is the talent supply chain, manufacturer. So different aspects of that one. Here is the information supply chain, here is the talent supply chain, so manufacturer is there, and then retailer is there. So physical supply chain is there, logistic provider is there, and then financial supply chain. So and the distributor is there. So you can say these are all interconnected. It starts from, you can say, the rapid talent supply at the manufacturer level, at the scale level, intelligent and connected. So different aspects are there which you can identify. Now, if I go through the supply chain, starting from the supply chain, so the basic architecture of the supply chain is, if I could say, that start from the supplier, the manufacturer, the distributor, retailer, and customer. So everyone is involved over there. Now, interestingly, if you can find it out over here, there are three different supply chains are there, and these are all integrated with each other. Or these are all with you can say it's a kind of web which you can find it out, which is enabling the supplier has a relationship with the manufacturer, distributor, retailers, and in a progressive manner, but with other supply chain as well, with the manufacturer and with the suppliers of extended supply chains or further supply chains. So in that way you could identify. So these are the basic architecture of supply chain, where it every stakeholder is you can say attaching or in a web or integrated with each other. When you go through the further what is all about supply chain management, so what we have done it earlier, but for your understanding, we are just going to remind you that what the basic objective of supply chain management is, to have the internal logistics. So you can say you could have a first party logistics, second party logistics, as well as third party logistics. So within the logistics, you can say from the supplier to the distributor end. Then you can say the successful operations are there. So all the operations are successfully implemented. Then analysis of that the supply chain analysis of that particular aspect, whichever you have done it beforehand, you have planning for the supply chain structure or architecture. The marketing of that one, or you can say whichever you are managing, whichever you are supplying. So the product market is there, and then procurement of all these things at different stages at different point of time. And after this discussion, you can understand the things related to the supply chain management, the basic architecture of supply chain management, and these are the things which you can understand. References or you can say any bibliography, if you can understand, go through the Chopla Mendel Shapiro book for the modeling of the supply chain, or all these things which you can identify. Thank you.